Welcome to Brand on the Rocks, where we take bold ideas and distill them into clear messaging straight up. Today is an On the Rocks episode. And in this episode, I'm going to break down how you can audit your website messaging so that your visitors hit your landing page, understand the story, and click to take action. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Welcome to Brand on the Rocks, the podcast that distills bold ideas into clear messages you can actually use. Each week, we serve up conversations, audits, and straight pours of insight to help you cut through the noise and grow your business. Hosted by brand strategist Ryan Holck, this is where clarity comes neat and your brand gets remembered. As small business owners, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, your website is one of the most valuable and vital assets of your business. It's often going to be the very first impression that you make on potential clients or customers. They may have seen your content on social. They may have heard someone in passing talk about you. But when they actually want to find out who you are and what you do, your website is the place that you own. It's your digital front door, the real estate that you possess to share your brand story in the clearest way possible. The question is your website effectively communicating and convincing visitors to take action? Over the last 10 years, I've gotten a ton of phone calls about help with websites. And lots of people show up with one of two things. They have no website and they need help in general, or they've got a website that looks nice that they paid someone to help them build, but either the story is really bad, meaning it's just not clear, or people aren't clicking any buttons. Like they're getting visits, but people are bouncing away. People are scrolling down the page, but they're not taking action. And that usually means that something is broken with the website messaging itself. Because it's not enough to just have a nice looking website. It's not enough to put some content out there that says, here's who we are, we're amazing. If that information does not clearly convey your story, if it does not point people to the action step that you want taken, then they're not going to take it. It's increasingly evident with the websites that I'm auditing and looking at that people visit websites and they aren't sure what piece of information the company feels like is most important, what number one action step they want people to take. So instead of taking action and guessing, they just move on. And so today, really the point of the On the Rocks episodes is to give you real life application to sometimes review things, what's happening in businesses, what is and isn't working, what I'm seeing. So today I'm going to walk you through a content audit that you can do on your own website. And I'm going to walk you through a process, and then we're going to actually jump on to a friend's website that told me they would love kind of an overview of what is and isn't working on their site. So I thought that I'd actually do it for you live and show you how to actually, what it would look like to implement this process into your website. Okay. So today we're going to talk about auditing your website messaging. And the very first thing that you need to do is get a Word doc, get a Google Doc, some piece of paper that you can easily copy and paste into, because you're going to go through a process here and answer a few questions and actually interact with your content. If you want, I even have a downloadable PDF that will help you do this that I will put in the show notes for you, so you can grab that and just walk through the process that way. Okay. But the very first thing you're going to do is I want you to load your website. And what I mean is type it into the browser bar, hit return, and don't touch anything. Just let the page load. Now, you have seconds to make a first impression. And the very first thing we're going to do is called the clarity test, because the majority of people will load your page, your home page on the website, and will never touch the scroll bar. They will never move down the page. They will never look at anything more than what shows up when the page loads. So if your page in the first moments, what's called in the business is called above the fold, meaning you haven't scrolled, it's what's visible at the beginning. You need to answer 4 critical questions. And if this is unclear, you will lose people before you've ever had a chance to get them on your side. So here are 4 questions you need to have answered with what is visible when the page loads. Okay. Number 1, who is this for? Number 2, what problem does it solve? How does it make life better? What next step can a visitor take? Those are your 4 questions. So I want you now to look at the page that you just loaded. I know this is interactive. If you're listening to this on the road or something, I'd encourage you to take a few moments. And when you are in a place where it's safe to actually do this, okay? And you might do it even on mobile and desktop, because you know your site's going to look a bit different based on how it reflows to fit on a mobile. Okay, but go to your home page and look at what is visible without scrolling. Can someone who knows nothing about your business, okay, could you pick someone off the street you have never met before, never had a conversation about who you are, what you do? Could you put this in front of them and they could answer those 4 questions in under 7 seconds? Because the majority of visitors, that's all you're getting. And if the answer is not a resounding yes, that they could answer those 4 questions, then your message has a clarity problem. It doesn't matter how pretty the site is. It doesn't matter how cool it was that thing flew in from the side and that the fade happened and the buttons bouncing at you saying, click here, click here, click here. If the message is not that clear, it does not matter. They will not continue to scroll. We live in a trust recession, but we live in an attention focused moment in time as well. And people will only give you as much attention as they feel like is productive to their own well-being and life. So if they feel like their time is being wasted on a site that is unclear, they will go away. So you start with a clarity test. You answer those 4 questions when you load the page. Okay? If it's not a resounding yes, if it takes longer than 7 seconds to read the 12 paragraphs that you crammed into that part of the page, you need to work on your messaging. And chances are, if the messaging is off at the top, it's probably off further down the page as well. But that's where you need to start. Is it clear? Because you, on your website, are buying people's attention in seconds. They're going to give you 7 seconds to read. If they like it, then they will scroll. They're going to give you another 5 to 7. If they like it, they may give you 10 to 15 and another 15 to 30 and on and on. But you are buying micro investments of their time. So it has to be clear. And you start with a clear top of the page. Who is this for? What problem does it solve? How does it make life better? What next step can a visitor take? Make sure it answers those four things. The next thing you're going to do, and this is where you need the Google Doc or the Word doc for, is the headlines test. Your headlines are the guideposts that capture attention, point visitors through your page. Think of them like signs on the road when you are driving through town. They are markers that tell you where you're at, what is coming up, what to expect. So I want you to take that home page that you've already loaded. I want you to scroll down the page, and any place you have a headline, okay, any place you have a section headline, I want you to copy that headline and paste the headline into your Google Doc or your Word doc. Okay, you're going to copy it into that document. So what you should have is scrolling down the page. Okay, anytime you have a headline, and I'm not saying just I bolded text in the middle of a sentence, I'm saying an actual headline that if I'm looking down the page, I go, oh, they're trying to call my attention here. This must be a section break. This must be a topic break. This must change information, something. Okay. Copy those headlines from each section of your homepage into a document. And then I want you to answer this set of questions. You're going to look at that document, that Google Doc. Do the headlines convey the essence of your product or service, even if no other content is read? Think about that. All they're reading is headlines. People skim content. They do not read every word on your page. The people who do are in the top 5 to 10%. The majority of them will skim down the page, go, that's pertinent to me, I'll read. That's pertinent to me, that's not, I won't read. Do the headlines convey the essence? Second question. Are my headlines SEO friendly? Do they use key phrases, things that people use when searching for your products or services? Our tendency as business owners is to get overly creative with our headlines, to get overly creative and flowery sometimes with the way we talk about our products and services. The problem is that language is not what people are typing into a search bar. That language is not what people are grabbing when they pick up their phone and talk into it and ask a question. It's not what they're asking when they ask for their Google Dot or their Alexa device to answer a question for them. You want to make sure those headlines that are on this page, do they use phrases that real people use? Not you and your company, not you and your business, not people who do this 50 hours a week, the people who need your product and service. Does the headlines include phrases they actually search for and use? Third question. Is it clear from your headlines what process a customer will go through when engaging with your business? People want to know that you have a plan to help them. Okay? If you sell widgets that do one thing, that's one thing. But if you're like the majority of small businesses, the majority of especially coaches and consultants who I end up working with, you have a number of products or services usually that are available, and people want to know, if I contact you, what can I expect? If I hire you for this service, what's the process look like? So is it clear from your headlines that you have a process in place and gives them an idea of what's going to happen if I fill out this contact form? What's going to happen if I call the number? What's going to happen if I use the chat bot? Give them an idea with your headlines. The fourth question is, do your headlines focus on the customer's needs more than just broadcasting what your business does? This is something that so many businesses struggle with, and I was working with somebody actually this morning about this, that they have an outlined set of products and services that are pretty amazing. The problem is there is a gap in understanding between how the client talks about the problem and how they talk about their solution. And so much of their marketing has been focused on here's solving. We do this, 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 rather than talking about it from the reader customer standpoint of here's the problem. Here's the needs that I have. That your response, your solution, your product is what I need, but I don't know to ask for your product. I'm showing up with symptoms. So, do your headlines focus on the customer's needs? Do they talk about the symptoms your customer has instead of just broadcasting what your business does? So, I want you to take that list, review these headlines once more, okay? And think about, can someone understand the story of your business and your solution with no additional information? If all they read was the headlines, okay, I know this is like the short synopsis of your business, but trust me, it's all that some people are going to give you. And if your answer is not a resounding yes, your headlines need some work. It's not enough just to use phrases that get searched. If you're not saying it in the right way, people aren't going to follow through and understand your story. Okay? If they don't understand that you offer a solution and a product and service to solve a specific problem, they're probably not going to ask you to solve that problem for them. So go through with that list, mark it up. This is where in the days of print media where I started in marketing, you got the red pen out and you went, these pieces are unclear. We need to work on these things. Here's where our focus should be. Then you get strategic and you write some new stuff. Okay. So the clarity and the headlines. And the third piece of the website messaging audit is the calls to action. Your calls to action, I mentioned that your headlines are like the signs that tell you in town what street you're on and what's coming up next. The calls to action are the stop signs, the yield signs, the green lights that tell people, here's what I want you to pay attention to right now. Here is what we feel like are important things for you to stop or take action on. So I want you to scan through your main page. Okay, go back to the web page itself. And I want you to take a tally and mark some things up. I want you to look at that page and look for buttons. How many buttons do you have that call you to take an action? They say buy now, they say get started, they say book a call, whatever it is. How many buttons do you have and what are they saying? So if you've got two that say buy now, put buy now and two. If you've got four that say book a call 4. Okay, so I want to know how many of each and what are they prompting, what action are they prompting you to take? Then I want you to look for text links. And by text links, I mean like it's, the blue highlighted text, maybe it's underlined that if I click it, it's going to take me someplace. It's not a big gold button, red button, blue button. It's just a link that if I click on it. So how many of those and where do they lead? Okay. So if it says, contact us and it's just a click link, put that down. Lastly, I want you to look for your free offers or resources that are provided. Okay. These are opt-ins. These are things you're giving away. Like how many and what are on that list? You've got a checklist. You've got PDF. You got a white paper, that kind of stuff. Okay. So you should have a list now of the buttons, the text links, the offers, resources. Okay. I want you to group similar types of actions together. So if you have 3 buttons saying buy now and you've got a text link saying buy now, okay, how many of those total? So you have an idea of how many are on the page. And here's the goal of this. I want you to look at the totals. Can someone clearly understand the top 1 or 2 actions that you want a website visitor to take? based on the number of attention calls to action you've given. Is there an immediate recognition? Oh, they've said this multiple times. I think this is the action they want me to take. Is it that evident for people to know exactly what you're hoping they will do? Have you spelled it out that quickly, that clearly? Okay. If the answer isn't a resounding yes, then you are either overwhelming visitors with too many options. I visited a website one time that had 80 different actions available from the homepage. I wasn't too, thumb or pointer finger slides down the page before I went. I have no idea what they want me to do here, because they thought that every page of the website needed its own button or text link from the homepage. I'm not talking about the menu, in the content. Okay. It was so overwhelming that you didn't know what they actually wanted you to do. Here's the challenge, is that when people are on your page and scrolling down, people online do not scroll back up unless you saw something that you went, I had a question I need to review. People don't scroll back up, which means if they have gone past your call to action button one time and they're now at the bottom of the page and it doesn't happen again, they're not scrolling back up. So even if they needed your help, they're not going to find it. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds like a crazy stat, but I'm telling you, I look at the numbers and I'm like, people don't scroll back up. Which buttons get clicked on the most? Okay. So if it's not a resounding yes, that it's super clear what the top one or two actions that are desired are, then you're overwhelming visitors, or maybe underwhelming them with a lack of options even, and your calls to actions need simplifying. Okay, so you're going to start with your clarity test. When the page loads, ask your 4 questions. You're going to look at your headlines, copy and paste them into a Google Doc, into a Word doc, and review them and ask your 4 questions. You're going to look at your calls to action. You're going to number them, outline them, review them, and ask yourself, what is the top 1 or 2 actions? If those answers are not clear, okay, did your content pass with flying colors for clarity? Would someone understand what your business is about from the headlines alone? And is there a solid primary call to action and a secondary one that you're wanting people to take? If your answer is not yes to all of those, then it's time to take a look at your content. So I want to show you what this actually looks like in real time. I'm not going to necessarily copy and paste this into a document, but I'm going to show you a website. This is actually a service provided a couple episodes ago. A few back, had my buddy Adam on, and we were talking about some of his products and services, some of his coaching consulting. One of the things that he has as a sub business is a business called Piece of Cake Videos. And he asked me to review some of his content and give him an idea of what he feels like is and isn't working. So I'm going to run through this audit really quickly on this content so that you can get an idea of what I'm talking about in real time. Okay. So you're going to load the page and read what is visible. Who is it for? What problem does it solve? How does it make life better? What are the next steps? Okay. So social media video can be a piece of cake. Okay. So show your authority, grow your following, close more sales. We turn a video conversation with you into a month's worth of social media video clips to inform your audience, position you as the go-to expert in your field. Okay. So who is it for? Well, based on the whole content and these photos over here, I'm going to assume that it's for business or thought leaders. I'm not 100% certain of what the specifics are, but that's who it's going to be for. What problem do you solve? That social media video should be easy and that I need to get a month's worth of content. So something to do with um, generating content without tons of time. How does it make life better? Well, I'm going to show my authority, grow my following, close more sales. Okay. What next step? Get started now. Okay. So, of those four, the thing that I feel like could be tightened up a little from a clarity standpoint is exactly who the target market is. A step deeper maybe would be helpful here. But this is fairly similar, and notice that some of what I'm reading here is not just the words. I'm also looking at the images and the context of what is loading. So clarity test, that's what you're going to do with just what's loaded. And notice here that I'm looking at what's here. There's a menu bar, there's other offers. When I load this page, that is not where my eye goes. My eye does not go to this other stuff on top. It's not drawn there. I've built hundreds of websites and that is not where my attention goes. My attention goes to the middle of the page. So take that into consideration, that most visitors are going to ignore until they need to interact with it, at least in that initial 7 seconds, whatever is up here in the menu section. Okay. So the headlines are the headlines. So I'm gonna look here. I won't copy and paste them. I'll read through this. So social media video can be a piece of cake. Thought leaders, community leaders, industry leaders, consultants, life coaches, agency owners, entrepreneurs. Why choose piece of cake videos? What would you do with an extra day each month? What could you bill a client for a full day of work? Piece of cake process, how it works from call to content. Still unsure how it works. Let's prove it's a piece of cake. Notice my photo is there. He and I did some work together. Okay, and then some, I'm assuming this is FAQs, questions, conversions. Okay, so looking at, do the headlines convey the essence? I would say that the headlines help clarify some of who the audience is. What they don't do for me is in the headlines immediately call out the heart of what this service is. Right now, I know because Adam and I have talked about this, what this service is about, but it is not immediately evident unless I read into some of the additional content. And that may be the case with your website that you need to think about as well. Okay. So what would you do with an extra day? Like, that's a great question. An extra day each month. He's promising or saying that that's the kind of time that could be saved. Are the headlines SEO friendly? I would say that for the most part, they are not. No one is searching for leaders, community members, industry leaders. Piece of cake video is the name of the brand or business. So aside from someone looking for a cake shop, it's probably not being searched very much. Casual conversation, professional editing, automated scheduling, evolving content. Those phrases, yes, people might be searching for. Extra day each month, people not searching for that, although that is once again, a great solution. How it works. Okay. People aren't searching for that, but it answers the next one, and that is the process of, is it clear from your headlines, the process that a customer will walk through with you? So that one is very clear. And do they focus on the customer's needs more than just broadcasting? Yes, they definitely are focused on the customer's needs. So as I think about the headlines, then they could use some tightening up for SEO, search phrases like, how are people actually looking for solutions for saving time creating content, especially as a thought leader. Do they convey the full story? I feel like they could be reworked with some of this interior content a little bit, and it would help. Okay, that would tighten things up. So calls to action. Okay, the number of buttons. I see a get started at the top, get started now. So that's 2. None of this is clickable. Get started 3, 4, book a free demo. Okay, so he's got 4 of the get starteds and book a free demo. Okay, more questions, visit FAQ. Okay, so for our get started, I'd say that's a good start. My rule of thumb at this point is I try and have the primary call to action 7 times for the very reason that people don't scroll back up. So I repeat it ad nauseum so that there's no question this is the answer that I want people to take. Book a free demo. This is his freebie offer here. I personally would probably highlight this with some background color, a box, something so that it stands out more, that people realize this is part of the content, but it's actually an offer at the same time. Okay. So that right there is how I initially go through content for clarity, headlines, and calls to action. That is an audit that you should be able to do on your website and get an idea of how are we conveying the story of our business, and whether or not something is standing in the way of us converting visitors into leads and not just visitor traffic. Because visitors to your website don't matter if they don't take action. You need them to become leads, to book calls, to become paid customers. And that starts with this audit plan. Now, one of the things that I do and I provide is I take this service and I go for a full messaging plan where we actually then go through every page and we start to look at, okay, does it meet these initial criteria? But then the next step of what do the pages actually say? Is it clear? Are there things we're highlighting? Are there things we're missing? As an outsider who doesn't know the ins and outs of the business, what am I seeing? What am I asking questions in my mind? What are the next steps that need to be answered in order for someone to click a button and trust us enough to become a customer? If you would like in your business an outside set of eyes to do this for your website, to not just take this little quick audit, but actually to review your site, to give you real-time feedback about your messaging, check out my website messaging audit, where I give expert analysis. I actually go into Loom, I hit record, and I go page by page through your website, giving you a video walkthrough of what I'm seeing, the questions I have, what is clear, what isn't clear, give you actionable recommendations that will help you unlock your website's full potential. Now, this has been today's On the Rock episode of Brand on the Rocks. And I know that some of these On the Rocks ones are going to be a little different. The last one, we were talking messaging specifically and audience, and this one a little more practical. And these are going to kind of vary a bit in terms of just actual implementation, how you get your messaging, your marketing to work in your business. If today's episode has helped you to either clarify or even change your thoughts on, oh, my website, I maybe need to go change these things or look at these things and think about them differently, share the podcast with someone. Grab the resource on the audit and walk through the process with your business. Grab it and walk through your friend's website and say, hey, I got this and I think you might want to check some things out. Let them know. Connect them to the podcast. Would love to be a resource for them. As always, thank you for listening. And until next time, keep your ideas bold and your message clear, straight up.